When Hotaru came to give you and Tanjiro new swords, Tanjiro was shocked by how calm Hotaru was to you. Instead of death threats and endless strings of curses towards you, he calmly gave you your new blade and explained carefully about the making process of it as you listened intently. He thought that the swordsmith would treat him the same way, but when Hotaru moved from you to him, Tanjiro was once again almost killed by the man. It was a strange day, and for the whole time Hotaru was present, he was radiating the sense of admiration and love. When the man had left, and you bid your farewell to him, the boy brought it up. "Hotaru has taken a liking to you, it seems," he casually stated, and you looked at him, blinking your eyes for a moment. Then you burst out laughing. Tanjiro was confused, not knowing what was so funny. After a while, you were able to gain back your composure, wiping away a few tears from the corners of your eyes. "I know," he replied, stifling a chuckle as he walked away, leaving a confused Tanjiro behind. Hotaru was forging a new blade, a special one, as he was going through the conversation he had had a few days ago with you. He remembered your light laugh that felt like it lit up the whole room's atmosphere, and he remembered your adorable blush covering your cheeks as he gave you the new blade he had forged just for you. He remembered how... Ugh! He let out a grunt as once again he accidentally cut his hand, blood flowing out of the injury. He grit his teeth, not caring about it. Nothing was more frustrating than stopping in the middle of a process just to treat his injuries. The blood was warm and red, splattering on the floor as if a crime had been committed. After a while, the blood started to dry out as he put his mask on the side of his face to wipe off some sweat from his forehead. He heard someone stepping in the room, but his full focus was on forging the blade, so he couldn't care less. "Are you thinking about that person again?" a fellow swordsmith asked, taking a seat next to Hotaru, whilst his gaze was focused on the blood on the floor. Hotaru could feel himself blush, the red flush covering his cheeks, and he was glad that the fire blazing in front of him with its burning flame was able to make it look like it was from the heat. Hotaru grunted, not liking to talk while working, but still responding to his friend nonetheless. "What person?" he asked, trying to play dumb so he could be left alone in peace. The sword he was making needed all of his focus. It needed to become his masterpiece. The fellow swordsmith sighed and rested his head on his hand. "Hotaru, you know what I'm talking about." He started taking off his mask as well, so he could wipe away the sweat from the deadly heat that was kissing his face, making it red. "The one from the butterfly estate? They're a real snack, I must admit," the man said with a chuckle. Hotaru stopped working and turned to look at the man with piercing, sharp eyes. His jaw clenched in anger as he took an iron bar from nearby and tossed it at the swordsmith, who had already gotten used to the hot-tempered man and was quick to dodge it. "Calm down! I was just kidding!" he shouted, waving hands in the air in a declaration of peace. Hotaru humphed, turning his back to the man and continuing his work, furrowing his eyebrows as he was trying to remember what he was about to do. "Well, this just proves my point, you know," the swordsmith continued, a little smile playing on his lips as he watched Hotaru's stiffened back muscles. He chuckled, knowing that the whole village was trusting him on this. "You're head over heels for this person," the swordsmith countered, and Hotaru was barely paying any attention to him anymore. He needed to get this sword finished in time. What's so great about them, huh? Or is it just their looks? The swordsmith continued questioning, enjoying playing around with Hotaru's feelings. He knew Hotaru was blushing like crazy. Even the heat wasn't able to hide that. But as the question left his mouth, Hotaru's shoulders relaxed a little. "No, it's not something like that. They're just... The most amazing person I've ever met. Hotaru blurted out, almost forgetting that he wasn't alone. Of course they're pretty, too. But that's not all. They can be witty, even a little stubborn at times. But that's why they're so amazing. And their laugh. Oh, don't get me started on that. They're just simply perfect. That's all. Hotaru finished. And the other swordsmith was left with the mouth hanging wide open, never expecting the stubborn swordsmith to open up like this. Damn, man. You really need to confess to them, he said. And Hotaru, in response. He was going to. Or at least he wanted to. But every time he saw you, the ugly seed of doubt would grow into a flower in his mind, and he couldn't swallow up his pride and admit the fact that he had hopelessly fallen in love with one of his clients. You were laying on the wooden terrace in front of the butterfly estate, as you had broken one of your blades on purpose again. Of course it made you feel guilty, considering all the work Hotaru had seen for it. But every time you saw him again, and got to spend more time with him, all of your guilt would wash away. You were waiting for him to come and deliver a new sword to you, and you had been waiting on the terrace every day from dawn till dusk for a few days now. Others may have noticed your actions, and maybe caught on to it, but you could care less. You wanted to see your crush again. You longingly gazed at the distance, when you spotted a familiar figure of a man with broad shoulders walking closer to the estate. You jolted up from your position and sprinted towards him with bare feet and a wide smile on your face. You stopped in your tracks in front of him, wanting nothing more than to hug him. An awkward silence fell between you two. After a moment of gazing into the unseen eyes behind the mask, you sighed and ran a hand through your hair with an apologetic look. Look, I'm sorry for breaking your Nichiren blade again, you apologized, bowing down a little bit, when he dismissed you with a wave of his hand. It's okay, but now I've made you a special brand new sword, he said, as he began to explain the process of making it, leaving the part about getting injuries out of it. He nodded in silence, a smile playing on your lips, glad that he wasn't angry at you. After he was done, you chuckled and asked him if he wanted tea, like you usually did. This time, however, he shook his head, which made your heart sink in your chest. I'm sorry, but I have business elsewhere that I must deal with, he started, as you made a little "oh" sound in disappointment. He chuckled, which made your eyes widen, as you raised your gaze to look at him. What you did not expect to see, however, was that he was without his mask. A smile formed on his face. To be honest, you almost choked, as you saw his sharp eyes, thick eyebrows upon them, and pointy jawline that you were pretty sure could cut straight through paper. He then bent down a little, using your shock to his benefit, as he quickly pecked your forehead with his surprisingly soft lips. It felt so right, but the moment was over as fast as it began, and he had quickly turned on his heels, the mask over his face again, hiding the deep blush on his cheeks. You touched your forehead with your fingers, gently brushing the spot his lips had touched, imagining them on yours. You blushed as you shook your head, snapping out of your trance. You looked at the sword that was now resting in your hands, a cloth neatly folded over it to refrain it from getting damaged. With delicate hands, you opened it and saw the most beautiful blade you've ever seen inside it. But what caught your eye was a small, simple heart carved on the surface of the metal, and you brushed your fingers over it. But before you could recall what you were doing, the blade was on the ground, and you were sprinting after your beloved one with bare feet. The rocks hurt, but you couldn't care less as you were shouting the man's name over and over again, catching his attention in the distance. Luckily, he was still in your line of sight, and as he turned around, he saw the most beautiful sight in his life. You were running towards him, and his name was rolling off your tongue ever so smoothly, the hem of your kimono taken by the wind along with your hair as your eyes shone with happiness. The most beautiful thing of all was the happy smile on your face as you kept calling out to him. He stopped in his tracks, his hands falling limp to his sides in shock, and all he could do was focus on your form that was pulling him closer like a magnet. Soon, you had jumped into his embrace, your legs tangling around him as your hands had taken off his mask. His arms were keeping you close to him, keeping you up as you cupped his face with your hands. "Fucking finally, you stubborn idiot," he whispered as you pressed your lips against his into a sweet kiss. His lips tasted like metal and fire, just like you had imagined. As the kiss sent shivers down your spine and a flow of electricity in your body, he held you close, and as the kiss ended, your foreheads were pressed together, and the both of you were smirking widely. "You're the stubborn one for forcing me to make the first move," he said, and pulled you in yet another kiss. You are now rocking with Will I Am and Britney, bitch. A specimen. The swordsmith continued questioning. Lost my spot. I found it. Hotaru, Todoroki, giddy up, yeehaw, and all that mess. Feel free to roast me for how I pronounce words. Like how y'all came at me for how I said water. Water. How do y'all say water? I don't know how to say it! He shouted, waving his hands in the air like he just didn't care. Are we just gonna ignore the fact that another swordsmith proceeded to refer to you as a snack in the year of our Lord 1912 to 1926? Don't get me wrong, I'm here for it, but if it's technically the 1920s, can I use my 1920s voice? Yeah, see? Ha-cha-cha. You're the bee's knees, see? Razzle-dazzle. I'm sorry for breaking your Nichiren braid. Your Nichiren braid. Your Nichiren damn it. Hate this word because I can never pronounce it. Gently brushing the spot. Gently brushing the you whispered as he pressed you. You touched just as fast as it. What was that? I guarantee you every serious take that I ever have is like tucked in between like 5 different crackhead takes. There's more crackhead footage than there is decent footage.